and welcome to the Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today we're going to unbox Blackstone Fortress's latest expansion, No Respite. Now, this is based on the Warhammer Quest series of games, which would have among its lineage games like, say, Hero Quest or Advanced Hero Quest, or even games like, say, Space Crusade. And more recently, games like, say, The Silver Tower and Shadows of Hammerhal, which would have been set in the fantasy setting. Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress is set in the far future, so it has a kind of a sci-fi futuristic setting, and this is the latest expansion for it. Now, it's an interesting expansion because it focuses on Nurgle, one of the bad gods of the Warhammer universe. It's basically kind of the god of pestilence. So, with no further ado, let's open up this game and have a nice little look inside. Now, unfortunately, one of the problems with this game is it has no new models. I think it's the first in the expansion series of the Blackstone Fortress to not have new models. But in one sense, this is fortunate as well, because what I can do is I already have models painted from other series of games where these characters or these model types came out, so I can give you at least a proper look at a completed version of it, but I'll also give you a look at the actual sprue. So let's open this up and see what is inside.
Lucky Roll is the home of the best board game reviews, news, competitions and discussions. We cover everything from the game of life to Gloomhaven, so don't miss out. Subscribe now to join the fun.
Now, opening it up for the very first time, we are greeted, of course, with the manual, what seems to be character cards, and the cardboard inside. Now, we, of course, here have the sprues. So, you get two series of sprues. So, what I'll do is I'll show them up close. You have here, as you can see, the actual detail is Games Workshop's usual very high quality. Now, you get in this set, you get 3 Plague Marines and 6 Pox Walkers. Now, as you can see, some of them come complete and are very easy to assemble, but most of this, as you can see, is push-fit assembly. So you don't have to worry too much about glue or anything like that. If you want to play the game immediately, you can just simply snip the characters out, pop them together, and Bob's your uncle. Now, as I said, I have these completed from another set. I think either the Warhammer Conquest series or, sorry, the Warhammer First Strike set. So this is what some of the models look completed and painted. Now, forgive the thoroughly average paint job, as I'm not. Painting is a hobby I'm still working at, trying to get better at. But as you can see, they do, when painted up, look very, very well. And they're actually quite easy to paint because I am not an artistic person in any way, shape or form. But the detail on Warhammer models are so well done that it's actually quite easy to paint them. It's like painting by numbers. So those were the 3 Plague Marines, and of course you have here the Pox Walkers, which are also very interesting characters, because in the tabletop game, if you kill basically other players' soldiers with Pox Walkers, they turn into Pox Walkers themselves. So they're literally kind of zombies. But as you can see, the detail from these things, even though they're old models, is still exceptional. They're great fun to put together, great fun to paint, and you know, they look great on any tabletop. I mean, there's great kind of creativity to them, with kind of a hammer and bolt and a big tentacle arm and, you know, horns coming out the top of their heads. I mean, they're just, to me, part of the big joy of the Warhammer Quest series is painting the actual models. Now, unfortunately, there's no new models in here, but nevertheless, even though the fact there's nothing original here, which is the first in the expansion series, you can at least see that they're of impeccable quality. Now going back to the main game itself, you have of course the usual bases. So you have your 3 bases here for your Plague Marines and 6 little bases for your Pox Walkers. You have a whole series of little goodies here. So there's actually quite a lot in this little expansion. It's quite a thick one. So of course we have brand new baggie, always welcome. We have here a sealed envelope. Again, no respite. Do not open until thrice cursed shrine has been conquered. So you have a secret ending. And we have here a nice big baggie to keep everything nice and separate. So that's handy if you do decide to put them all into the one box somehow, that you can keep them separate. So we have here, of course, Affliction Cards, which is interesting because Nurgle, being Nurgle, he tends to infect you and infest you and all sorts of horrible things. So, I mean, we have cards here now like such as Claustrophobia or Loathsome Parasite, Horrifying Visions, Terrible Lethargy, Acute Paranoia. So there's a lot of interesting things here actually you can use to amend your game with. You've Acute Nausea, you've Uncontrollable Trembling, which you must reroll the first critical success you roll for this explorer in each combat. So the fact that you have Affliction Cards is a nice way to kind of affect the statuses of your heroes. Crippling Vertigo, Splitting Headache, Apathetic Fugue, Festering Cataracts. Oh no, that's not nice. Enemies that are more than 3 hexes from this explorer are not visible to this explorer. And Paralyzing Cramps. So, Nurgle doing his obvious Nurgle thing. We have here what looks to be very specific Nurgle cards, and with 3 different symbols, so it could be 3 different kind of factions of Nurgle's armies. I'm afraid I don't know Nurgle that well, but they're double-sided, but that is quite nice. So that's something that looks very interesting. We have, of course, new equipment cards such as Medical Marvels, so you have Omniphage Serum, Immunostims, and Auto-Medicate. And we have here, of course, new encounter cards with the Plague Marines, 2 for Plague Marines and 2 for Pox Walkers. So you also have different stage cards here. So there's Stage 1, Stage 2. So there we have here 2 sets. We have the Bleeding the Bleeding Maw. So there's 3 cards there, different stages. You have the Mouldering, and you have the Chronopox. So it seems like there's 3 separate missions or encounters in that. We have brand new, of course, exploration cards, usual perfect high quality, so you have plenty of brand new maps here. So you brand new, lots of new combat scenarios. You've new challenges, so you've got Massive Maggots, Secret Sickness, Festering Blight, Infection, a Pestilent Prize, and the Walking Pox. So these are all part of the exploration deck as well. You have, of course, the specific cards for them. So you have here, of course, your Pox Walkers and your Plague Marines with your handy-dandy guides to how to kind of play with them, and the behavior tables on the other side.
If you're enjoying this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And of course, we want to hear from you. Post a comment, pose a question, get involved.
And here, looking at it, we have the expansion. So I'll just open this carefully because you know yourself, you don't want to kind of stab your nice rule book or stab your beautiful new cardboard cutout parts. So taking that apart, we are greeted with the rule book. So we'll start with the rule book, which is, of course, beautifully done. A lot of expansions would just have kind of a sheet of paper because the rules are not expensive, but you know, Games Workshop at least have gone the final mile, another mile here. So, oh yes, the original symbols we saw earlier on are Bleeding Maw, Mouldering Plague, and Chronopox. So it seems to be at least those 3 symbols are not 3 different factions in Nurgle's army, but probably the 3 different encounters you can come across. You have components. You have this Scions of Nurgle, the Death Guard. So you have a nice little bit of lore here, an introduction to the characters, the quests. So there seems to be a nice bit of blurb. There's the after the quest, and we have here, of course, I won't go too much or dwell too much in the actual maps because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there is plenty here, of course. And as I mentioned, First Strike, this is actually a separate kit that you can buy very easily to get an introduction to the game. The models in First Strike are actually the same models that you get here, so they're the ones I happen to have painted up. So, but yeah, just another blurb and advert there. So that's the rulebook. We have here the Thrice Cursed Shrine. So this is obviously a secret or a final encounter with the final event, which goes into the card. So I think that's the end thing. We have here cards. So we have what seems to be dice symbols. These are the different types of orders: Exploding Maw, Chronopox, and Moth-Knot. That just looks lovely. I mean, that's the state of my mouth after a weekend on the booze if I forget to brush my teeth. And of course these things are double-sided. And we have here what seems to be an interesting ship now. I don't know that. That looks interesting. Brand new symbols, all of Nurgle's little delicate symbols here and the whole lot. So that is interesting. I'm looking forward now to finding out what that is. And of course the assembly guide, which I probably won't need because I already have them built. But nevertheless, it's done properly. It's a proper little book assembly guide rather again than just a little sheet. So it's nice that the Blackstone Fortress they haven't cheaped out on anything, if you know what I mean. That every little part of it is nice. And of course you have here your stats for the main tabletop game. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. Now, as you can see, it's a nice little expansion, and it comes with nice little models, albeit a little bit disappointing for people who would already have the models, but nevertheless it seems to be a top-rate expansion, and another one I'm very happy to add to the collection. So until next time, this is Sean from The Lucky Roll. Good luck, God bless, and stay safe.